welcome to Borgcast 16.2 on Lower Decks and Things.
And Things, yes. So we can, continue our coverage of Lower Decks, but also...
Previously on Star Trek Picard.
Rather bizarrely. Well, we just got the Blu-ray set, and we just had time to watch the last of the short treks, which they stuck on there.
Which was Grange Hill in space.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought as well. Oh dear. I mean, awesome use of Peter Gabriel's Heroes cover. That's a fantastic tune. And there were some nice spaceship shots at the beginning. But it really, the rest of it, as you say, Grange Hill. There's reference to the attack on Mars, but literally it's just like footage in the background. What's the point?
It's on in the background while the two kids are in detention.
Yeah. Wow. I'm glad we didn't see that beforehand. It may have put us off watching, to be honest.
Yeah, may well have done, yeah.
Bizarre.
Really weird.
Anyway.
Previously on Star Trek Discovery.
Yes, from Season 3 we have Purry's coverage of the last episode of the season.
Hello orcs, Purry here to talk about the Discovery episode That Hope Is You Part 2. Apparently the Part 2 of the Part 1 we had at the beginning of the season. I can see what they're doing here, I don't like it. That's just... I hate to start off in a negative, but in fact, I am going to start off in a negative, because what I want to do is I want to end on the positive note, because I didn't hate this episode, but I thought it had issues. And a lot of the issues are... Well, first one of my biggest issues is Captain Michael. Yeah, we all knew we were going to get to Captain Michael, but it's kind of like when you're travelling to Milton Keynes. When you get there, it doesn't make Milton Keynes any less disappointing or any more pleasant. It just merely means that you've had to go to Milton Keynes. We get Michael, and what actually bugged me about it as well was Vance kind of saying, "Oh, I was wrong about you, but I had a daughter who, and it's all this stuff of, yes, I was wrong about you, that sort of thing, and, how in fact Michael was right the whole time." That kind of bugged me. I thought it would have been better to say, no, but you came through in this one, and, I feel more confident in you, having got to know you, not that you do things wrong, but it's okay. That really annoyed me. Let's see, what else bugged me? I would have liked to be completely rid of that turbolift chase. I hate the turbolifts going around I think one of my friends said Discovery is basically mostly turbolift space and like 4 rooms and a bridge. Because, I don't like them there, and the more they having a big chase in them just reminds me they're there. When they're not there, I can imagine that the turbolift system is something made by a sane person and not Alton Towers. That whole turbolift chase, and I'd have liked to have seen more of Tilly and the crew actually. I think I was a bit disappointed that their kind of breakout basically ended up with them being sealed and suffocated. Although I did like, that they blew off the nacelle. Well, didn't blow it off, but damaged the nacelle. I really liked that whole scene, and I would love more of that, I think, is my point. I'd still like to remember who Bryce and the other one are, and we've got to know a lot better, and Depner, and I think just we could have done with a bit more. I also, the fight scene in kind of the computer room gave me some Superman 3 vibes at the end when Michael's possessed of that. It was like that terrifying cyborg bit. I'd have actually liked the fight to be turned around by Jet Reno suddenly emerging from a hatch, just hurling something heavy at Osira's head, but the whole bit of them being in the, they got eaten by the Viridian and then having to jettison the warp core, which shouldn't bounce off the side of the ejection tube. That's all I'm saying is a safety thing. Jettisoning the warp core, it just seemed like they were throwing in too much and trying to get too many bits in. Like, we've got a hold of cool ideas and we want them all thrown in, so they did it. I thought that was kind of a bit annoying. That said, there's some good stuff. I like the fact that Stamets hasn't forgiven Michael at the end. I like the fact that they get new uniforms, even if I'm sure Tilly's in the wrong department. She's blue, that's science. She was wearing bronze before, which is services. Maybe she's shifted. I really liked the stuff with Su'Kal. I actually thought that really worked well. I thought Doug Jones was amazing in that, and actually so was Culber, and it was really lovely seeing, having that scene with Adira and Grey actually materialising, and that gives us something for the next season. I reckon we might see Grey as a hologram or something. They possibly have mobile emitters and that sort of thing. So I did like the way it kind of came together. I thought it still wrapped up a little easily. With the Cyragon, the Emerald Chain collapsed, and suddenly everyone's coming back to the Federation. Admittedly, though, Michael, while being in command, is command of what is effectively Space Deliveroo, since her job is largely going to be to pick up dilithium and take it places. But I thought I loved it. I mean, actually, the bit that really gave me the feels was when the guy from the first episode, I can't remember his name, appeared in uniform at Starfleet headquarters. That was like the bit where I kind of got a bit of oh, that was a wee flutter in the heart there. And that's probably, it sounds harsh, that's my favourite bit of the episode. It wasn't unenjoyable. I did enjoy watching it. I just think there was a lot wrong with it. I think, again, I mean, at least it wasn't a big crowded space battle, but also the Navarre turn up and do nothing. They're just kind of flying along. We don't even get a good look at their spaceships. So yeah, a bit of a flat ending. It just seemed a bit of a mess. And I think this probably could have done with a couple of rewrites in this one. But I think it's been a solid series altogether, so I've enjoyed that. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to Series 4. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to the podcast, and I will feedback to whenever Discovery returns. But until then, bye for now.
Bye, sir.
Bye,
We'll hear from you later. Yeah, Tilly she's gone through all 3 divisions. She was wearing the bronze of services. Then she was command, obviously. And now she's in blue of science. So I think what kind of a fool would go through all the different divisions? Madness. Anyway. The turbo lift stuff, silly. Very silly.
Very silly. And Vance apologising is wrong. The idea that Vance can say you've come good, you know, I can trust you now, that's not a problem. But he was not wrong.
She was in the wrong before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that made no sense. But never mind.
Yeah. And Grey as a hologram, I suppose, if he blips in him out, are we going to see shades of Grey?
Better not. Well, let's move on to what we're due to be covering, which is episode 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks, Envoys. We did rewatch episode 1, because obviously it's been a few months.
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts to add to what we'd already said?
The tune reminds me of Galaxy Quest.
Or All the Orville, yeah.
And this time round I noticed somebody wearing a Geordie visor, which I don't think I spotted the previous time.
Uh-huh. But yeah.
Otherwise, feel very much the same.
Still too manic, yeah.
Loud and manic and annoying.
Yeah. Which, considering this one's not as manic and annoying, you do wonder why they put that one first, but never mind. Speaking of Envoys...
Welcome to security. Why don't we throw you into the fire and see if you burn? Computer, initiate combat simulation. Smorgasbord.
Initiating.
Ah, Borg! Oh crap, I don't know how to fight. Maybe this thing does? Okay.
We get something looking like the glowy thing from the child entering the ship. It's not the same being, by the sounds of it, because it doesn't want to impregnate Mariner and Tendi, but kill them instead. So, yeah. Okay. The former grabs it and makes it produce a tricorder.
It is a purple tricorder.
Yeah, but even so, wow. Could have asked for anything. I guess that's part of the joke, I don't know. Captain Freeman walks into it next and kind of absorbs it. She's discussing what her make it so line should be. So
it just makes me think back to that on
Discovery, and I presume this predates it.
Nobody needs one. You can just fucking say go.
Yeah.
For
anyway,
fuck's sake.
Nothing more comes of this alien this episode, so it's a bit of an odd teaser, really. Rather like how Cheers sometimes has unrelated teasers to the rest of the episode. Unless it will turn up later, never knows.
I don't know.
Ensign Boimler has aced some test or other, and as a result will be piloting a Klingon called, is it Korean, isn't it? To Horga'hn 4, which is the trekkiest Trek-sounding place ever. Rutherford has been working in the Jeffries tubes. Apparently he has to change division to go out with Tendi. Yeah, okay.
Well, he's noticed he would be on the Jeffries tubes when the pulsar is...
Yes, so in order to go out with her on that day, he has to change division, apparently. Okay. Boimler boards his shuttle, which is called the Yosemite. Is this a reference to Star Trek 5? I so hope it's a reference to Star Trek 5.
Oh, no, because it's a cartoon. My brain went to a Yosemite Sam place.
No, it's definitely a Star Trek 5 reference.
No, it's a Yosemite Sam.
No, it's not.
It's
Apparently,
Sam.
I'm saying it's not. Apparently, Mariner has wrangled things to be in charge of the mission and immediately gets annoying fiddling with the controls. In engineering, which I think this is the first time we've had a good look at it. We did briefly see the warp core in the previous episode, but we see the whole of engineering here, which is a nice design, actually. I love it. And the warp core looks very Dalek-like, I think. But there we are. Rutherford gets praise for his work by Lieutenant Commander Andy Billups. Andy Billups? Really? Who comes up with these names? The ensign sums up the courage to ask for a transfer, but despite initially looking angry, Billups is cool with this. Weird.
It was very Starfleet, though, isn't it?
looking angry and then saying, "Well done, that's a good idea."
No, the idea that they don't react, they're all fine with everybody moving around.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd just been fine, that's fine. But initially he looks angry for no reason. Weird. General Corinne rocks up in the shuttle and Mariner attacks him. It's quite fun. He's cool with this in true Klingon style. It turns out he knows her from some grey ops in the past. Ooh. There's a nice line with him saying he'll update her on his sexual conquests, and she replies, "What, both of them?" That's nice. Before they've landed, the General has passed out, having pooped on his sword.
I love that.
Best line of the episode. Yeah. Poop jokes will never not be funny. Dread to think what Klingon poop looks like, though. Presumably it's purple. Anyway. Ooh. He recovers quickly enough to steal the shuttle, stranding Mariner and Boimler. Then Boimler's off speed walking because that's what super secret nobody's supposed to have heard of them Section 31 does. There's some interaction with Klingons, which again Boimler fails at, and Mariner is clearly more comfortable with. The reference to Kalons, which were that species that Dr. Timicin came from, what Loaxa fell in love with in Half a Life. Remember that?
Oh, okay, yeah. Right.
And they do actually show some, they've got the veins. Then they literally bump into a taxor, a big blue alien of the kind we would never see in a live-action series. No. Yeah. It kind of pulls you out the feeling that you're watching a Trek show as a result, unfortunately.
It just made me think of the animated series.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah. I like Mariner's solution of throwing away his wallet anyways. But interestingly, the Amazon version doesn't translate what he says. So actually you lose a couple of jokes along the way about that, but never mind.
Oh, how do you know what he says there?
Because the version I saw, in order to take images... he says very carefully, provided by Andy, does have the translations down the bottom, because it's the American version. We're missing out, folks. No, really, it's just a couple of lines. We're not missing out much. Anyway, it would have sucked if she just beat him up, I suppose. So, Rutherford is now in the Red of Command, and with number 1, Jack Ransom, a.k.a. cosplay Riker, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. They're in the holodeck on a simulation of the bridge, and Rutherford does poorly, killing 105% of the crew. Which is never a good line.
And then he kills all the kids.
Yes. And the one was like, let's find a ship with more kids to kill. Okay. For some reason, they have giant Horga'hns on Torgana 4. Has Riser started a franchise? It's weird.
That was like McDonald's.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Horga'hn, I'm loving it.
Well, I'm loving you, probably. Anyway, Boimler, or Boiler, as the autocorrect has got it now, he's Boiler from now on, nearly gets eggs implanted in his throat by an Anabadge that comes onto him. Predictably, Mariner saves him. I find it really hard to like these two. Particularly people to whom everything comes naturally.
It's like Starbuck, isn't it?
Funnily enough, that's exactly where I was going with this as well.
She's
the best at everything, but also, doesn't follow the rules and is a rebel. And then you've got Boimler, who's kind of Lee-like in the fact that he is following the rules and trying to do the right thing. So, yeah. And if you've been listening to Borgcast Galactica, you know how much we hate those characters too. Rutherford is giving medical a go, which, despite its claim it's not so different to engineering, rather stretched credulity, to say the least. Oh, suddenly he's operating on somebody. Okay. If that would have been a holodeck simulation as well, that would have made a lot more sense, but never mind. Surely you have to study medicine for years? It's just a cartoon. Who do you know? Anyway, we get to see Dr. Tana, the Cation again, which is nice. But things go badly again, this time due to him having no bedside manner. So instead he signs up for security with awesome Bajoran shouty Lieutenant Shax.
Yes.
This is a great way of introducing you to all the main crew, and this would have made far more sense as a pilot, but there we go.
Yeah. Now, I really like shouty Shax.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's the best.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Amusingly, the combat simulation with the Borg is called Smorgasbord.
I like that Smorgasbord. Brilliant.
Talk about sink or swim. Although it turns out this is supposed to be the equivalent of the Kobayashi Maru, but instead, Rutherford's implant means he rocks at combat, ripping Borg arms off and hitting them with it.
It's brilliant.
That's great. Boimler has now pissed off the Andorians and starts a bar rumble, which Mariner sorts out by buying everyone a drink. Understandably, he despairs at how she irritatingly knows everything, whereas his study had got him nowhere. Rutherford is introduced with pride to the security team, but he realises he misses Jeffrey's tubes. Shax is unpredictably cool with this. I mean, again, he looks like he's going to lose his top and then says, "Oh, that's great." What, really? Why? Anyway, Boimler and Mariner bump into a Ferengi called Quimp. It's a design that really works for this animation style, it has to be said.
Yeah.
Ferengi look brilliant.
Yeah.
It's sadly not voiced by Armin Shimmerman. which is a shame, but there we go.
Well, it could have been voiced by Max Credenzi.
Or that would have been good as well. But Armand Truman is like sort of is so often the Ferengi that, presumably they couldn't afford him or something. In an obvious attempt to cheer Boimler up, Mariner claims not to recognise what species they're dealing with, which would have given him an ounce of dignity if it weren't so obvious, and yet he doesn't realise.
No.
We later find out she did indeed set it all up. They find the shuttle with Corinne passed out in it and drag him to the embassy. Boimler proves what an arse he is by promising to keep quiet about Mariner not recognising the Ferengi and then telling everyone in the bar. Yeah. What a git. Rather more sweetly, we have a nice scene with Rutherford and Tendi where they joke about his trying out new jobs not being about him wanting to be with her. Of course not. It's clumsy but sweet. And then we see them together, her watching the pulsar on a pad and him working in his beloved tubes. Aww. To be honest, I think those guys should be the stars of the show and they can ditch Mariner and Boimler as soon as possible, please, because they're irritating.
Or change them slightly, write them better. That's also another...
Tone them down a bit.
Tone them down, and I'll give some fucking explanation as to why somebody that good got demoted to ensign and isn't coming back up again.
Well, I guess we're going to find that out at some point, but
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. The problem is, I'm not sure I'm interested because she's just an irritating character who's good at everything and doesn't obey all the rest. That's exactly the sort of character I hate.
Yeah.
Never mind. I mean, it was less frenetic than the first one, and I like effectively the B plot was the bit I liked, so it had more in it that I enjoyed.
I like more of the background characters, the head of engineering, not Riker, and is it Shax or Shatz? Or Shaps. I want to call him Cyril Shaps.
It's not Cyril Shaps, no.
But Bajoran, shouted Bajoran
Shaps,
do.
I think.
Yeah. So I like those characters. I like Rutherford and Tendi, but not the main two. I think of the two, I probably at the moment find Boimler less irritating just because this is Lower Decks. He is new. He is going to be green and rough around the edges.
Yeah, it was
you
fine.
You can kind of forgive it if it doesn't last too long.
All very well until that scene where he's, having said that he'll keep confidence, he then doesn't. And there's something like puts you off somebody like that. It's just like, oh, really? Really? Oh, well, he's an arse. Apparently.
Yeah, but she's just too annoying.
They're both annoying. That's the problem.
Yeah, they are. I think that the idea that he's young and green and needs the edges knocked off of him and he needs some experience, I can go with, given the premise of the show, whereas I'm struggling to go with Mariner at all.
Oh, well, as I say, I think it may be revealed at some point, but we shall see. I mean, the temptation was very much just to carry on watching. I know most people just sat through the entire season because rather Amazon... obviously, it having been out in the States for so long, Amazon decided just to drop it all at once. But we're being good, and we're just watching the episodes we cover, because those are the rules of the podcast. We've heard from Dory,
who writes, having watched only the first 2 episodes, I will say this for Lower Decks. At least it's light and a bit funny in these COVID times.
Indeed, and it's a good pill to Borgcast Galactica at the moment, a good contrast. So, yes, there is that for it, certainly.
What did the Llama Bob make of this?
Llama Scott take Fixie Fixie Shack. Let's fly. Well, I've already covered my feedback for episode 1 in the previous cast you did, so straight on to episode 2 here, and more of the same, and that's not a bad thing. That means it's good. It's yet again an affectionate semi-parody of Star Trek, looking at all the tropes, but in a loving way, never being cruel, taking the ideas and playing with them to some of their more, perhaps, ridiculous extremes. So it opens with a whole godlike entity coming on board the Cerritos, and it ends with it being wrestled into a small box, and that's something they're never going to do on Star Trek, is it? I mean, maybe Deep Space Nine, because Sisko punched a god. But, this is the kind of thing I like to see, an alternate approach to the wonder or deference, chin-strokingness that the Next Generation might have had. So, here we're just lunging for everything. Another example of that really is with the Klingon Corinne, who turns out to be a ridiculous drunk and a menace. And again, this is just a Klingon, isn't it? But taken to the extremes. We've already seen that they're quite boisterous and, frankly, sometimes ridiculous. I mean, I love Klingons, I really do. But they can be ridiculous when taken to their extremes, and this is that. And, it's totally unfitting. And I love this. The whole idea, the marketplace, the different aliens they encounter. It's also very much Star Trek, but also ridiculous, which, is not a bad thing in these times. But it also has its lovely moments as well, while Rutherford, trying to be sweet, decides to change his entire career just so he can spend some time watching the Nebula. And what's really nice to see is the section chiefs, when he tells them that he's leaving, are just very supportive. So, yay. So again, that's a very Next Generation thing. And speaking of his journey to finding the right career for him, I also really love the fight with the Borg, where they use music for the Borg battle sequence, which is very, very reminiscent of the soundtrack that Dennis McCarthy, I think it was, did for Best of Both Worlds. So again, it's just some lovely little touches and a lot of respect and knowing nods to the Trek that we love. It's It's not a send-up or a cool caricature or anything. No, I really love this. But the big question is, does it fix the plot hole or the inconsistency with how the Ferengi were depicted during early Star Trek Next Generation? Because here we discover a very first-season Ferengi, but it turns out that it was just a ploy. And yeah, does that mean that the Ferengi that we met in, what was it, the last outpost, were they just performing in order to throw off and confuse the humans? Was that what they were doing? Is there not an actual inconsistency in their society? Was it just that they were dicking around? So, given the Ferengi, it may well have been that. And I did like to see the captain walking through the ship trying to figure out her catchphrase. Given that this was actually made before Discovery Season 3, then yeah, this series got here first by, again, pointing out how ridiculous that whole notion of each captain having catchphrase is, and also showing how difficult it is for some of those captains that are not perhaps on the top tier ships. So did I just call Discovery not a top tier ship? Yeah, well, based on its crew records, yeah. But then again, neither is the Enterprise D. So yeah, I'm continuing to enjoy this. It's got some good sci-fi concepts. It is very silly, but it's not cruel, and at its heart, it is still Star Trek. So yeah, looking forward to seeing where the rest of the season goes. As I will be looking forward to seeing what everyone else makes of these. I hope everyone's enjoying this light-heartedness, especially if you compare it to your other podcast. And until next time, glory to you and your cast!
Cheers, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, it isn't cruel, and it isn't taking the piss out of the Trek that it loves. It's often ridiculous. Sometimes it has a bit of a tease, but it's not horrible.
No, and it does expose some of the silliness as well of the concepts. Yeah, and yeah, interesting explanation for why Last Outpost Ferengi are so naff.
Yeah,
possibly
they were just having a laugh.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I didn't have any problems with Corin being so outrageous because, well, Klingons.
Yeah.
They didn't have to dial him up much, really, did it?
Not really. No.
And we've heard from Puri on this episode.
Hello, Orgs. Puri here to talk about Envoys. I already put in my views for the first episode of Lower Decks, so I thought not to repeat myself. Now, this is my second time through Lower Decks. I saw the episodes earlier through piracy. I'm just going straight out with it now, I'm not banding about it. And yeah, this one I actually enjoyed a lot more second time through. Now, what I will say is, if you're not on board with particularly the Mariner Boimler stuff, I don't think this episode will help. I could see if they were annoying you in episode 1, they will continue to annoy you in this episode. That said, they're part of the story. While I do actually arguably like the Rutherford subplot better, I thought there were some nice elements to this. I like all the they are basically doing a little tour around Star Trek Alien references. Particularly, they're suddenly walking into the Risa area and the talking of Jamaharon and that sort of thing. I thought that worked quite well, actually. I've got no real issues with that. On the other hand, we've got, the thing which we'll still get is, at this point, definitely, Mariner is very much the know-it-all, and Boimler is the person trying to be by the book, and they're very much within their character boundaries here. But I think partly because I've warmed to the characters over the later few episodes, I'm actually finding approaching this again now, I'm enjoying it a lot more. I'm finding them a lot more likeable. And again, it kind of works out initially. I quite like the fact that the Ferengi they meet at the end is doing literally all the Ferengi cliches, and of course, as it turns out, it's because he's a good friend of Mariner's, and he was doing it exactly, the "give me your profits, humans" kind of thing, and doing the hand thing, all that stuff. Because initially, again, I kind of thought you'd like Boimler less at the end, because of course he's like, no, I won't mention it, and then is talking about it at the bar, but you kind of get the impression it's Mariner's plan. Although this does bring up, it's one of the first mentions to bring up, how old is Mariner? I think it'll be a question I'm asking long, because she seems to have quite a few times through this, because she seems to have a long history, which also then leads to how old is Mariner's mum, the captain. What I liked about the Rutherford subplot, I thought that I'm glad they didn't overuse. I just like 2 goes of the you want a transfer? Well, great, and everyone being really supportive thing. But I did just like him trying the other jobs, and it did let us see a bit more of the senior staff. We get a few more scenes with Strax, a few more scenes with the Doctor, and a few more scenes with Ransom. So all in all, I thought that was actually, it's a decent second episode. I actually think this one, though, really works better in the second viewing, so my recommendation to anyone on first time through is actually watch the whole series and then give this one another shot. I think you'll actually get a lot more out of it, but that's just my view. So, all that remains me to say is do keep up the good work. I say I always look forward to the podcast. It's only your second Lower Decks podcast, but I do always look forward to them. And I'll be back to talk about the next 2 episodes of Lower Decks, even though I've only done one here because I'm lazy. But until then, bye for now.
Bye, you're not lazy. You already covered the first one. That's fine.
Was it? I got the impression as well that it was Mariner's plan all along, so she knows that he's not going to be able to keep this to himself.
Well, yeah. But it's just sad, isn't it, really? It just makes you dislike him.
In terms of how old is Mariner and her mum, I peg, given the grey streak they've put in the mum's hair...
Yeah, the mum looks quite old, actually.
Mum's 50s, I would say. Yeah. So making Mariner 20s, 30s, depending on how...
Dad's an admiral, isn't he? And
yeah.
If anything, he looks quite even older, so... Yeah, I reckon
so
she's...
20s or 30s.
Yes.
And Tom Paris was demoted, wasn't he?
Yes. Yes, so she's another Tom Paris. Woo. That's what we needed. Never mind. There's enough in this to keep us going. We can just ignore the two main characters, rather like Battlestar Galactica. And and the security guy is definitely Ty. Oh, there. That's why he's our favourite.
Yeah. So the next 2 episodes, what are they called?
I'm glad you asked me that, because that means I've got to open the page on Memory Alpha. So the episode's Temporal Edict, so I guess we got some time travel stuff.
Okay.
To look forward to.
Oh, will we have those police people in it?
Heaven knows. And the episode after that looks like it's called Moist Vessel. Ew. Okay. There we are. We'll be recording on Thursday the 11th. So if you've got any thoughts on any of the episodes up till now, then do let us know. But no sneaky reveals about the later episodes. Need to say Tumblr already sports something about later on, but that's Tumblr for you. Sighs. Plus, not helped by the fact, of course, this was on months ago in the States. So, CBS's fault. Anyways, I think it's amusing me at the moment, so it's worth carrying on with.
It's all right.
It's all right. Yeah, that was kind of our Sprog 2's comment, wasn't it, when we asked them what they thought. And Sprog 1 didn't survive the first episode, no. So this one hasn't won the kids over. And I'm not surprised, because it's an awful lot of Trek in-jokes, basically, isn't it? So if you're not a fan,
It hasn't won me over yet, but I don't hate it. I'm not going, bloody hell, I'm not watching that again, it's all really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't won me over yet, but I'm willing to, give it time to do so. And
everybody's dropping these little hints about it being gradually improving as it goes on, so
we'll see.
Worth carrying on with. There we are. Excellent. Yeah. Well, likewise, we don't have a silly catchphrase thing for moving on, so we'll catch you next time. That's as close as we get.
Yeah.
But
bye.
It doesn't work for getting the warp engines going, though, does it?
No. Bollocks to it.
Bollocks to it. There we go.
Though nothing will keep us together, we can beat them forever and ever. We can be.
The art for Borgcast Lower Decks is the fantastic work of Charlie Thorburn.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
We have a Facebook group which you're welcome to join.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Though nothing will drive us away, how we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be us just for one day.
Shut it down!